Please enjoy this message from David Arquette sent in by the fabulous Carrie Tenney.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Thanks for doing the Scream podcast.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Curly, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. I couldn't be more grateful for everybody out there who listens to the show, who supports my podcast here, listening every episode, or on social media on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. If you would like to become a member of the podcast, come to the group Zooms, be on the show on a one-on-one or small group setting, consider joining the Patreon with Scream with Ryan C. Showers. In addition to the benefits of coming on the podcast, you can also join our social media groups, in particular on Instagram. That's the main hub of the podcast. I also do a monthly audio commentary of a Scream movie or a Scream-related film. From now through April, we are going to be having a new Scream movie audio commentary. So if you would like to hear my thoughts in an audio commentary form in the style of Wes Craven, Marion Maddalena, et al. Of the original trilogy, please consider subscribing and supporting the show. Thank you to every single person out there who subscribes on Patreon. So I need to thank TJ Jones, who does all of the graphic design work for the podcast, and Ashley Summers, who helps me produce the show every week. In addition, I need to thank everybody over at Patreon, including the Stab Investors and Daddy Ghostfaces. The Daddy/Mama Ghostfaces, they include Carrie Tenney, Corey Wilson, Andrew Dominguez, and Brett Janovich. I also need to thank all of my Stab investors. They include Mark Harim, Josh Carr, Allie, Tamika Jones, Christian Ranke, David D., Gustavo Mora, Jess Mariano, Joey Nabrini, aka The Vault, John Cardney, Josh Camillari, Scream Queens Podcast, both Josh and Justine, Kevin Abner, Mark Vieira, PW05, aka Philip Douglas, Roy Garza from the Hoodie Talks podcast, Ryan Not Dying Young, Ivan Valance, Sam Levy, and Stevie Shears. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for this Scream 4 episode. Actually, this is the big Scream 4 episode. This is the Scream 4 episode. So this is going to be me performing an audio commentary of Scream 4, the last film directed by Wes Craven before his passing. So this is going to be the 15th anniversary of Scream 4 this year, 2026. So it came out, of course, in 2011. And, that's kind of crazy to me because, I was in high school when this movie came out. So I vividly remember the time, leading up to Scream 4, the Scream 4 era, and then the time in between Scream 4 and now. And it's just crazy to look back and be like, wow, so much has happened. So much has changed, but no, so this movie is a very special film. It has so many admirers. There are so many people out there who rank Scream 4 as not only their favorite sequel, but their favorite movie in the franchise. And I have deep respect for it. And actually, it's weird. I've had a complex relationship with Scream 4 over the years. Whenever I started out the podcast, I was such a purist about the original trilogy. And my viewpoint as a Scream person was this idea that the first three are this cohesive unit and they all sound alike and feel the same. And it's one big story. And then Scream 4 has a different tone. And I didn't really jive with that as much. And, it took me not very long after the Radio Silence era to realize just how much of a treasure Scream 4 is. I mean, I've always loved it and I've always held it dear, but the Scream 6 in particular really made me take a second look at what I was criticizing about Scream 4 and be like, Ryan, snap out of it. And as people have, I don't want to say turned on Scream 5, but definitely reevaluated Scream 5 from the time that it came out versus now. Scream 4 has only become, in my opinion, it's self-evident just how much better Scream 4 is than even Scream 5. It's such a great movie. So we are going to be doing the audio commentary here for the 15th anniversary. So By this point, you all should know the drill. I'm going to be talking over the movie. I'm going to be pressing play. I'll count down. So if you want to listen and follow along with the movie and play the commentary you're listening to as a literal commentary with the film, you can match it up and sync it up with the movie. Or if you just want to listen to it like you're any other podcast, or you're walking around, or you're driving in your car, feel free. Either way, I hope you enjoy watching Scream 4 with me. So, all right, guys, I'm going to start the countdown and we're going to press play. Also, if you enjoyed this commentary and you haven't listened to the others, go back. I've done Scream 1, Scream 2, and Scream 3 at this point. Scream 3 was actually released to the public because I was like, you know what? This is a PSA, a public service announcement of just how good Scream 3 is. So, but head on over to Patreon. You can find all of the audio commentaries, not just for the Scream films, but for every movie I've done, from Scary Movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Craft, Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, all of the Scream movies, right? I did a Buffy episode, so these are very fun. It's the monthly Patreon bonus. Okay, well, let's sync up here. So I'm at 000 for the time mark. I'm going to press play. I'm going to count down from 3 to 1, and I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, play. So if you want to sync up, let's do it, okay? Okay. So 000, 3, 2, 1, and play. All right, here we go. Oh my gosh. This is my first time watching Scream 4 since Scream 7 has come out. So I have seen it a couple of times since it's been remastered to take away the filter. So let's just start out with the filter, because before we get going here, this is different. This is different. Oh my gosh. I'm used to the Dimension logo before, and it's Lionsgate. Oh my God. So those who are watching on DVD, you'll probably still see the Dimension logo. So yes, Lucy Hale, baby. The opening for Scream 4 is very controversial. I don't want to say controversial, but like there are people who love it, people who hate it. It usually ends up at the bottom half of people's openings, and it shouldn't. It's such a good opening, and I think what kind of kills it is like the third part. But these first two parts, Stab 6 and Stab 7, they are so well written. This is a quintessential Kevin Williamson. And I would say quintessential like Wes Craven meeting Kevin Williamson. There's such a vibe and a bounce to the way that the characters like talk, and like, the way that Lucy Hale just grabbed the knife and just waved it around. So fun. I don't know. And Scream 4 came out whenever I was in high school. So this is very much like the vibe that I remember. It's a very kind of formative thing. I'm really happy that this movie exists. As a fan of Scream, even as somebody who does prefer the original trilogy and Scream 7, this is such a landmark. I can't imagine like Scream without Scream 4. I think that, without this movie, I think the legacy of the trio would not be the same. But anyways, okay. So, weird enough, the Channing Tatum thing is so iconic. I hear people say that to me all the time as a joke, I don't know. Is he like the more impatient person? The more impatient version of the person you just spoke to. That's a Kevin Williamson wordy piece of dialogue. Who is it? It's for you. See, and like I have a controversial opinion about Scream 4, which is that I believe that it is more of a black comedy than it is traditional drama horror. And I think that's like the perfect example. It's like, the Lucy Hale handing her the phone. It's for you. There. And with the way that the blood and the comedy kind of is blended together throughout the film. So, but let it ring. I remember the build up to Scream 4, and whenever all these girls were being cast, like, we had these two announced, Kristen Bell and Anna Paquin. I think people figured it out pretty quickly that they were going to be in the opening. We just didn't know how or under what circumstance. And sadly, I was spoiled. I knew about the stabs, like the Stab 6, Stab 7, a kind of like China doll effect of the opening, based on like IMDb message boards and spoilers. So, I was always a Stab 7 person versus a Stab 6, but I love this opening of Stab 6. It's really grown on me over the years, especially. It's, I think, such a solidly written, vignette. And it's fun. Like, you can watch it both ways. You can watch it just as like, the first person watching it who doesn't know that we're in a stab movie. And it still plays kind of fun and fine. And then you realize, oh, this is a stab movie. So when she says, "Don't, I'm scared. Oh my God," then it's like, the cheese factor of this is a stab movie. It makes more sense. It's interesting. I wish I could go back and know, watching this, like, do I feel weird with those cheesy moments? Like, do they feel inauthentic? Do I think that they're bad? And then it's revealed as a stab. Like, oh, I get it. See, Scream 4 is so, so smart. I'm right beside you. So this was a big image of Ghostface right there holding the knife when the promotion of Scream 4. That was everywhere. So do you see what I mean? Like, there's an element of like black comedy to the death here. And I get that it's a stab death, but it's just, I don't know. So yeah. 4 minutes, maybe. So the first 4 minutes are those two. Interesting. I think it's probably the longest segment of the four. So I am a huge Veronica Mars fan, and a huge fan of the Oscars. So I always gravitated toward this segment more than the others, as I was like a younger Scream fan. And I always just loved the fact that there was this twist of Kristen Bell stabbing her. I think it's so funny. And so you can see Kristen Bell's character grabbing the knife on the couch when it briefly goes to her. So, but in terms of like casting two actresses who were relevant to the pop culture at the time and relevant to like the genre of the time, you have Anna Paquin with True Blood and Kristen Bell with Veronica Mars. In some ways, Script 4 came out in 2011. I think it would have hit a little bit harder had it come out in 2010 or even 2009. I don't know. 2010 would have been fine. So, but isn't it interesting? Like, it's almost like a year late of the remake trend, but also like 10 years too early to capture the celebrity TikTok of it all. I don't know. Interesting thought. Did that surprise you? Also, you want to talk about Kevin Williamson meeting Wes Craven. Here it is. Like, because you talk too much. So shut the fuck up and watch the movie. See, and I mean, I love that this is like the middle part, and I can forgive it for being shorter. So it's not even a full 2 minutes, that segment. So it really is, they are cameos, Despite that, I think that it's really well earned. I think it earns its spot here. And the idea of like Kristen Bell is what she just says to her. It's like a little jump of a surprise. Like, we just got through Stab 6. We thought it was the real movie. And then we get to Kristen Bell, and they keep it short and tight, and it's funny and shocking in a way that, like, because it doesn't feature Ghostface, and Kristen Bell stabbing her is almost like an allusion to like, hey, there's going to be a teenage girl who is going to be the killer. It's like foreshadowing Jill in the long run, So the first three, the original trilogy, were all based on Sidney Prescott. See, like, this is the continuity that Scream 5 really messed up. And one thing that people may, if you weren't around at the time, there was a big deal made about Gail Weathers' books and the books that she wrote about Stab and how they were turned into like Stabs 4, 5, 6, and 7. I actually have a copy of all the books that Gail Weathers, fictionally wrote on my bookshelf here. Ghostface Returns, The Knife of the Hunter, whatever. So, but I wish that Scream 4 had just like kind of like explained that a little more. It's there, you can see her books in the background and stuff, but like they've actually put a lot of time and effort into making that a detail in the world. And that's like what I have to say about Scream 4 overall, is like this movie the world feels so big and the mythology feels so alive in the same way that it does with the original trilogy. Like and I attribute that to Wes Craven and what he was trying to do. And how he told stories, it's just extremely different from the radio silence era. I think that like Kevin Williamson kind of recreates that world building in Scream 7, but it's really present here. And I think you can tell with like things like the Stabathon and the Cinema Club. It's just like there is such texture to the world of Scream 4. So, let's talk about the settings. Because like this is actually, a Scream 4 is very suburban. It uses a lot of real houses, and I think it makes an enormous difference to the production value and the overall rewatchability of the movie, as opposed to using, cardboard sets. So, and here we go. I've spent the last 2 minutes talking about other things that aren't Jenny and Marnie, because now we're already in the reshot footage. So if you don't know, Scream 4 it went through a round of reshoots for the opening and for Rebecca's scene. I used to think that the opening reshot footage was really, really bad. But over time, I've actually grown to really enjoy this moment here with Amy Teagarden. I like the phone call here, and I like the dialogue. I like what she says to him. It feels snappy. It feels very like Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson Scream. Even though Kevin didn't write this, I assume it was Wes who rewrote this dialogue. But really cool lighting here with the blue, coming off the TV, kind of covering the rest of the room. So dumb blonde with the big tits. Ghostface is so mean in this. Like, this is a great performance by Roger Jackson throughout. He has great Ghostface dialogue, but also his performance is so passionate. This isn't a comedy. It's a horror film. People live, people die. And like the pure energy and rush of like that line mixed with the crash, boom, that's how you do that. That's great directing. That's like the adrenaline pumping that you need. So right here, these 10 seconds are what I just can't with the opening. Like I remember actually sitting in the theater being so disappointed with those 10 seconds. Like of Jenny running to the door, Ghostface chasing after her and stabbing the door. I felt like, ooh, what are we doing here? It's my least favorite part of the opening, but I think I overreacted for a long time about it. Like, but I actually kind of like this chase here from the, throughout the garage, and it's. I know Tatum was in the garage, but this is something different. Just the sheer scale of this, the number of flights of steps Jenny falls down, the way that Ghostface kind of lingers and chases after her. It's a more dramatic, more action-packed version of what I guess Tara has in Scream 5 when she's on the hospital floor crawling. It's so much more dynamic, and the fact that we don't even see the ghost mask for most of this, like right now, we're seeing just the bloody knife and like the bottom of his robe. It's really scary. So one thing about this reshot footage is the mask really distracts me. I don't love the mask here. They must have used a different mask, and I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, but I don't know. This is an amazing moment too, where Ghostface is pulling her, and we see like her arms on the concrete. Oh my god! So, really good. Yeah. I mean, I never used to like this opening. I never did. I mean, the Jenny and Marnie opening. But now I'm a fan. I think there's a lot to love in here. So amazing song, Something to Die For. Oh my god, every Scream fan knows the joy of this song. See, and like look at the production here, like the ghost faces on all the light posts. Something is worth to die for. Like Scream 4 has just such a vastly different tone than the first three, and I used to think that was a negative before. Now I see it as a positive and a strength. It's like Scream 2.0. People all the time talk about like wanting things to be fresh in Scream movies and let's do something different. Scream 4 literally did the different thing. It's it kept the characters and kept the spirit of similar things, but like there's a different tone to Scream 4. There's a different identity than the first three had, and as it was trying to move forward, which I think is really cool. Like the Ryan of today, where this isn't the last movie in the franchise, the Ryan of today loves this aspect of Scream 4. It gives Scream 4 such a sense of identity that distinguishes itself, So I used to think that the new tone that came from the score and the filter, that it was distracting or more lighthearted, and I still kind of think that it is a little lighter, but that's fine because the movie is plenty enough dark. It's just a different style. And I would attribute it to like this, like the opening scenes here. Sydney on the street, Dewey here, and like just like there's almost like a suburban like TV show kind of like quality, but I love it. And I have to say, I'm watching the updated restored version without the filter, and it looks fucking great. I'm not a hater of the filter. Over time, just like everything, it's like Radio Silence gave me Scream 6 and I gave Scream 4 an apology for everything. And our girl Kirby, so, and then we see our two houses. So, anyways, so, and Jill Roberts, yay. So, what a funny line by Kirby. How clever. See, that this is Wes Craven. You have to promise not to kill me. Leading us, the first thing we ever hear in Jill Roberts' orbit is, please don't kill me, So Anyways, I was never an anti-filter person. I mean, I guess I was, but I haven't been for a while. So I've grown to like the filter. I appreciate the filter. Again, it's part of that unique personality that Scream 4 has that separates it from the original trilogy and this new era of, Spyglass. But I think that it looks beautiful in this form. So I like both. I think, what the answer is, it's not either or, it's both. So I will watch this. I will watch the one that's on the original DVD. So, but I think it looks beautiful. Like the cinematography is, I would put it up there with like Scream 3 and Scream 7 for like some of the best looking Screams. So this version. So I'm sure I just triggered a bunch of people because I didn't put Scream 1 and 2, but it is what it is. So, because they're making Scream 4 as like the remake, that's the theme of Scream 4. And Jill is the new Sydney. She had to get a phone call, but she's the killer, so she had to be performing for others. This is a really nice kind of workaround, by putting her with Kirby and Olivia. This is an allusion in some way to Halloween, having the three girls, going to school as opposed to walking home from school. But Scream 4 at its heart, I think, is an ensemble piece. It's dealing with, of course, the original leads. You have the central protagonist in Sydney and like Gail and Dewey as like, her backup. And then you have like this fake new protagonist in Jill who ends up being the antagonist. And then you have Kirby who could have been the final girl and the main character, but for Jill, right? So it's very complicated, the structure of it, but I think it comes off perfectly, in terms of like the missions and the goals. And it kind of, it's definitely a Sydney story. Sydney is the central figure. She's the main character technically. Jill, both of them, Jill and Sydney, I would say that they're co-leads. So when people were saying, in the lead up to 7, they're like, oh God, here we go, another Sydney story. We have to go back to have another Sydney story. It's like, I feel like this isn't necessarily a Sydney story. I think it's more of like, it's Jill's remake plus an ensemble piece, if that makes sense. And Sydney is just the driving central focus with the most screen time. So I love this Dewey and Judy scene, man, guys. I think, Judy is such a great character. Marley Shelton acts the shit out of Judy. Gives her such a quirky personality. Again, part of remaking Scream's identity with Scream 4. So I think she's such a good character here. She's a good character as like, both someone who exists in the world, but also just a suspect, someone who has ties to the past, a cop. Like she's funny. She's earnest. Yeah. I love that Marley Shelton plays her so seriously and she allows the ridiculousness to come through that, And with the ridiculousness comes creepy, comes suspect, comes I take my job too seriously, So I remember the day that Nev Campbell and Nancy O'Dell shot this. I was so excited. It was before the principal photography. It was so good. This scene whenever I saw it in theaters was one of my favorites. And like this is the difference between Wes Craven and Radio Silence. Wes Craven gave Gail little scenes like this. Like this scene probably took an hour to film at most. It's Courtney Cox sitting in front of her laptop, typing and reacting, and she has like 2 lines. It's so impactful. It tells us so much about who Gail is, where she is in this moment, and it gives her an opportunity to get a big laugh. Like I love Gail in Scream 4. Gail in Scream 4 is one of my favorite Gails, if not my favorite. Gail, like in terms of which is my favorite Gail, that's kind of in question right now, because also the vibe of that with like the Woodsboro High and like the score, a remix of the original Trouble in Woodsboro score, beautiful. I actually really do buy this as Woodsboro High in 2010, 2011. So anyways. But I remember when I saw Scream 4 for the first time and that scene with Gail came on and I felt such relief. I was like, oh wow, Wes is really taking care of the trio. We're getting little moments like this that are telling us everything we need to know about her. I love spending time with Gail and I love kind of getting to know exactly what's going on with her. It's such a beautiful way to convey that Gail is in this rut. There's a little bit of jealousy with Sydney and her success, but also her personal rut. And we're seeing her in her home environment, which is great. Oh, we just saw Principal Hembry. I missed it. Sorry. Yeah, it is what it is. Jill's locker, very interesting. Hi, Trevor. by Trevor. Do you see how like Kirby and Jill, they're together so much, not only because they're trying to hide Jill as the killer and sell her as the new Sydney, but they're also kind of like doubling down on like, just in case Kirby would have become the protagonist in Scream 5 had Scream 5 come out in 2013 or 15 or whatever. She's there, and this could also be seen as chapter 1 or a prologue to her story, So people like to hate on Jill and Trevor. I like Jill and Trevor. I like their storyline. I like the redux of Sydney and Billy because it turns its on, it gets turned on its head. It's not a blatant recreation. It's a subverting of the original Billy and Sydney. Also, Trevor in this is one of my like biggest crushes. I just love him so much. I mean, I don't love him so much. I think he's hot. So. And here we are. This is one of my favorite moments ever is Gail walking into the bookstore. We hear the Sydney's lament. And, Gail is just very moved by Sydney. She has very conflicting feelings, and it's conveyed so well here. We hear, Nev Campbell reading these lines from the book, from the fictional book. And Gail is like, there's a mix of jealousy, yet, a mix of respect. It's so good, So allegedly, Scream 7 Jessica, my friend Lucas wanted me to point this out. Kevin Williamson had the idea that perhaps Jessica, the super Sydney fan, she was here at the bookstore, and that's where her origin story started of her like obsession with Sydney that would lead to 7. I wish that detail had been incorporated into the movie. So, and look, a scene with all of the trio. Imagine that, radio silence. Look, they're all in the same frame. But yeah, I would have loved that detail. But I'm excited to talk about Sydney and her journey here and like what Nev Campbell does. It's crazy though, we're 20 minutes in and Sydney hasn't had a full-fledged scene yet. I mean, she had like the introduction was kind of small. And here, this is more of a Gale scene than it is a Sydney scene. So this is what I'm talking about as it pertains to like being an ensemble piece, it's just very well balanced and like I wouldn't say well balanced. I would say it's the most balanced of any Scream movie in terms of like, there's Sydney, Gail, Jill, Kirby, new teens, killers, this, that, set pieces. It's just very much an ensemble piece as opposed to like one person kind of driving the film. So I remember the day they shot this back in 2010, July. It was hot. Whew. Can't believe Courtney Cox agreed to wear a coat for this or a jacket, Here we go. And do you see Gail's going to grab Sydney's arm right here? My friend Joey Valisi, that's one of his favorite moments. That's one of mine too. It's just like it tells you so much about Sydney and Gail and their relationship and how prickly it is and how much it evolves and how it's many different things and yada yada. I like this too. Gail grabbing Judy's arm and moving it. So sassy, and she says, "I just want to see." Like that is Gail Weathers, bitch. Notice here, Jill is the only one that doesn't go for her phone. Again, we are like pointing, we're selling her as the new Sydney. Look how pure she is, but actually she's the devil, right? She is the evil one. Everyone else is going for their phones, but she has like the super motive of not going for the phone, knowing she shouldn't be going for the phone, right? So. Wow. Scream 4 does zip by, doesn't it? It's very fun. We're already 25 minutes in and it just flies by. See, we're talking about Sydney and now we're talking about Gail. It covers so much ground, And here are the famous lemon squares. Every single time I've watched Scream 4 with someone, they have looked at me with this moment of Courtney Cox strutting down the police station and be like, damn, she looks great. This was always one of my favorite scenes as well. I would say this is like one of my favorite Gale scenes. Like growing up, before Scream 5, I was like, wow, this is perfect Gale. Okay, listen to me, Judy. Jealousy, also power and annoyance, And thank you, everybody, for listening to this public preview of the commentary for this month. If you would like to listen to the complete audio commentary for the movie, please head on over to Patreon, Scream with RCS, subscribe at any tier to get the audio for this movie, for the audio commentary. Or if you subscribe at a higher tier, tier 2 or above, you can get the video for me performing the commentary while watching the movie. So again, everybody, thank you so much for supporting the podcast.